Thank you, Gavin. As Dr. Brink has advised, thanks to the amazing efforts by the whole community, we're in a far better place than we possibly imagined we would be just 2 weeks ago when we were putting together our exit from lockdown framework. As all of us said repeatedly last week, the framework is not set in stone. It is a living document that will change and be updated based on the evidence we have and the situation we're in. And Dr. Brink has provided the evidence and justification for moving to phase 3. And so the Committee for Health and Social Care has decided that we can bring forward that phase effective from tomorrow. Before I set out what that means, I really do think it's important that, like Deputy St Pierre, I remind you what doesn't change. The key messages that continue and which must not be lost amongst the headlines of what we're announcing today. Stay home in your bubble as far as possible. Continue to work from home wherever possible. Maintain social distancing of 2 metres. Follow the hygiene guidelines. If you have COVID-19 symptoms, immediately self-isolate at home and seek medical help. And if you're returning from outside the bailiwick, self-isolate for 14 days. That doesn't mean mixing in your bubble. This is a legal requirement and you'll be committing an offence if you don't do so. Indeed, as we relax restrictions within the bailiwick, this will become increasingly important, and we're going to be stepping up efforts to ensure the bailiwick bubble is strong. OK, so what does phase 3 mean? Well, for those classes of businesses already allowed to operate, such as building and other trades, building, wholesale and supply, and vehicle sales, repairs and maintenance, we're removing restrictions on the number of people can work on a site or premises. Instead, numbers will be restricted based on how many people can work on the site and still maintain social distancing and hygiene requirements. Premises may be open to customers with restrictions on the numbers of people permitted, as currently apply in food retail, with 2 metre social distancing to be maintained at all times. The above will also apply to offices, although we're still advising people to work from home if at all possible. Now, indoor building and allied work within houses is now permitted under strict hygiene guidelines. This will be limited to 2 people unless the house is unoccupied or health and safety guidance requires otherwise. This doesn't currently apply to domestic cleaning, but I can say that consideration is being given to the potential development of further specific guidance. In addition to the above, takeaway food services, including those provided by restaurants and hotels, can commence taking pre-orders only, and with collections permissible subject to conditions. Childminders may now provide a service to essential workers. However, those who work in their own home with several children from more than one household, including their own, cannot work, as this mixes several households, unless the households are bubbled together. It's also important that where any child is showing COVID-19 symptoms, they shouldn't go to a childminder and medical advice should be sought. Now, whilst public venues such as museums, libraries and gyms must remain closed, places of worship can open for private prayer. In addition, a maximum of 10 friends and family can now attend weddings and funerals, although I'm afraid receptions and wakes are still unable to be held. Public toilets will also be opened, which I'm sure will be a relief for some. There will be no changes in recreational time as we start phase 3. However, we are saying that bubbles can now contain 4 households. So, an existing bubble of 2 households can join with another bubble of 2 households, so long as they all agree to it. A bubble of 2 households could join with 2 other single households, or 4 single households could bubble up. The important thing here is that households can't change those that they have already bubbled up with, and the maximum number of households that can bubble up is 4. Finally, in relation to the changes being made now, we're going to pilot the opening up of non-essential retail. We want to do this so we can test how things go, see how it works, before opening up further. So from tomorrow, we're allowing garden centres, cycle shops, sports shops, and shops selling clothes and shoes for children to open. As before, businesses will need to notify the states that they intend to operate and provide details as to how they will comply with the guidance, all of which can be found on the coronavirus website. I think it's also important that I ask everyone to have patience. It may be a good idea not to rush to order a takeaway or go to the shops immediately. Some businesses may not be in a position to be able to open straight away. Unless you really have an urgent need for something, just allow time to let things settle down a bit. Now, those changes will be effective from midnight tonight. However, we also think it's important that we look ahead, given the position we now find ourselves in. So, on the basis that things continue the way they have been, we're looking at potentially making further changes in 2 weeks' time. This includes enabling outdoor dining and the opening of beach kiosks, as well as increasing recreational time and a further change to bubbles. In making our decisions, we have balanced the risk of the virus to our community against the wider health, social and economic impact on islanders. There is no right answer. We know for some it may be felt we're going too slowly, and for others too quickly. However, I would just like to assure you that we have given this an incredible amount of thought, working very closely with Dr. Brink and her team, as well as feedback through the new COVID-19 Recovery Advisory Group. And finally, I can't emphasise enough how important it is that we don't get complacent. Just because we aren't picking up positive cases doesn't mean that there are no cases out there. The longer we all keep to the public health messaging, the more likely that is the case. But there is absolutely no guarantee that is the case now. If we get complacent, that is how the virus will most easily be spread, and we will end up going backwards, not forwards. Our planning is contingent on everyone staying strong, as you have done for so long now, and that has put us in the position we are today. So let's continue to be proud to demonstrate we remain Guernsey together.